people. This video is about a show at the Whisky A Go-Go tomorrow. Today is January 19th, 2018, and the 20th, which is a Saturday night. My band, which has been together for like a month, is going to play the Whisky A Go-Go. And so I was going to, in this video, show some of the things about the show and getting ready for the show. And so this morning is all the last bits and bobs to get ready for the show. I'm drinking a lot of water. We got two huge jobbers here. I'm singing tomorrow, and amongst other things, just drinking lots of water really helps with that. And then right now we're dropping off stage clothes, which is just black clothes, of course. And Silver Bell is along for the ride. She doesn't care about any of that. I'll keep you posted as we do things and the show and like backstage and anything cool that happens, and some of the nuts and bolts about how to do a show like that, because you don't have to be famous at all. There's nothing like that. You just have to sell 25 $10 tickets, which is $250 total. If you can do that, then you can get stage time for 30 minutes on a Saturday night in January at the Whisky A Go-Go. If you play with someone famous, like if there's a headliner that's pretty well known, then you may have to sell more tickets, and there might be certain genre limitations, but for this show it's all ages. Basically I have to sell 8.3 tickets, $83 worth, and because there's only 3 of us in the band, and we can play the show. So that's it. So dry cleaners and more water. Part of the preparation for the show has been getting my pedal board together for the set that we have. So we're just doing 30 minutes of covers. Here they are here with some of the notes that we have for them. I'm using this American Strat here. It's a 2010 USA standard Strat. It has that scratch plate on it, but other than that, I mean, it's the same as you would just get at the store. It's not customized at all. And so with that one, I'm using this MXR carbon copy as a slapback delay. So we've got it over here on a short delay. The regen and mix more or less stays the same. On that one too, using some chorus. I run a stereo system normally, and so this has a stereo out on it, and one of them will go to this Ignator, and then I have another one that goes to this Bugera. Just makes the sound a bit wider. And then on some of the tapping solos, I use this MXR Phase 90. It's the Eddie Van Halen Phase 90. Set at this slow sweep, not in script mode. The script mode is just less severe. I mean, it's all awesome, really. On the outro solo of War Pigs, I use this harmonist pedal to get a third above interval harmony, and it sounds pretty good. And then the distortion I'm using, I mean, that Ignator you saw, that has got 4 channels on it and some great distortion, but you just can't beat putting an overdrive pedal into the front of the amp. It tightens everything up and just sounds really awesome. This particular distortion pedal is really good, or overdrive pedal they're calling it. It has a built-in noise gate, which is super handy. It's one less pedal you have to deal with, plus it sounds pretty good. And these are the typical settings for the Strat solo. It's pretty mild distortion, so to speak. And then for everything else, I got it turned up over here, and in general I put all the settings on 5, just in the middle, so they're not really doing much. That Strat's pretty thin, like Strats are, and so I got some bass boosted there. But other than that, most things are straight up and down with the EQ, so it's not doing anything. Here's a wah pedal. This is the 535Q Crybaby, and so it has, you can put distortion on it, but that's set to not do anything because I don't need that. You can use it to boost your solos, and you can adjust the Q setting and kind of how the wah behaves with these little knobs. So yeah, that's set up in a particular way. Always messing with that one. So the delay we did already, the BBE Sonic Stomp. That's one of those pedals. People said you should buy it, and I'm like, okay, I'll buy it. And then when I first plugged it in, I'm like, I didn't do anything. I'm like, what's the point of this? It's a waste of money. But since then, I just never turn it off. It's awesome. It does a certain je ne sais quoi to the sound. You have to look up what technically it does, how it does that. But it does. It creates a bit of noise as a thing, but live, it makes the guitar much more alive. And then you have this Peterson Strobo Stomp. It's a pedal-based strobe tuner. My friends refer to it as the fish finder because it has this thing, it just rolls normally. It never really shows you being perfectly in tune. It's very, very picky, but it's accurate. So that's the pedal board and that's Strat. I'm using 2 other guitars, and so we'll talk about them as we come to them. And then the other thing I have on here is just between songs I have to change the settings a little bit. And it's just a reminder, when you're practicing, you've got to practice all your songs and how to sing it and how to play it, your dance moves and what have you, but then you also have to know what's your scenario for the pedals between songs. What do you have to change? Another thing about this setup is that delay pedal. It's an analog delay pedal. It's a current model again, but it doesn't have tap tempo, and so I'm not sure. It's that carbon copy MXR. It's one that people really like, which is why I got it. I don't know if it's the best thing ever in the history of the world. I would like tap tempo, but anyway, so I just turned the delay time knob to like the 2 o'clock position. You can time the delay. You have to just sort of judge it, and live, you know, as long as it's pretty close, it's good enough. And so you can time yourself. You can hear those delays. So I turned up the regeneration and the mix, so we got more repeats and they're louder. And then, so this song it's in 6/8 kind of thing, and so we got, you time yourself off that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So the delay, as you can hear there, it goes in time with yourself. That's kind of what you want to go for. If you make a mistake, of course, you have to live with it for like 3 more times. That's what you want to do. That's what you want to use your tap tempo for. But you can do it just by using your ears. The tickets look like that come from the Whisky A Go Go. They give you 50 of them, and so 25 of them you have to pay for it, $10 each, which is $250, split between the band. And then the other 25 you can sell and just keep the money. And so you could, if you could get 50 people to go to your show, then you would make, if you sold all of them, $250. But you'd have to sell $500 worth of tickets. So what we're doing is just splitting that cost between us. So we do have people going, and you know, some people are going to buy tickets and what have you. But in this case, you know, 25 $10 tickets split between 3. Our friends' bands are playing. They have 4 members and such. So it's not that big a deal. And for the Whisky A Go Go, yeah, we're going to pay to play. Other venues that aren't so well known or famous, maybe not, but we're just doing it for fun. And you can bring your friends and just make a weekend of it. And that's what we're doing. There we go. Hot pink. Who knew? Another note about pedals. On here I do have this sticker which shows the signal flow for that comes in comes in through the tuner, which in general you should always have your tuner first because it doesn't need to have any effects going into it. So that is first, but then the order you put these in makes a difference. And so when I was saying that it took me a while to figure out the pedal setup, that's what I'm talking about. Is do you put the distortion before the wah, after the wah, that kind of thing. So the end result for me at least is the MXR delay, that's separate. That's going through the effects loop on the amplifier. I just find it has I get more control over the mix, certainly, and just sounds a bit more convincing if it goes through the effects loop. Everything else is straight in line. You've got the tuner, goes into the sonic stomp, that goes to the wah. I talked about you put the delay, the distortion before the wah. I find in this case, if I put the distortion before the wah, if you put the distortion before anything, it will make it do more. And in this case, it makes the wah just like crazy. So, distortion followed by the harmonist. I had the harmonist before the distortion. This is actually the newest pedal. I got it a couple of days ago. And it just created all kinds of weird noises. I almost was thinking I had to bring it back. But by putting it after the distortion, it's fine. And then the MXR is after the distortion on purpose because it does more. If you put it before the distortion, it's much more subtle. Nothing wrong with that. But for what I'm looking for, I want it to be very obvious, and so that does that. And then the chorus is at the end. It's at the end because it's splitting the stereo signal. This harmonist can do that too, because obviously you can put one of the harmonies on one side or the other. But yeah, so that's why that's at the end. I wouldn't necessarily put it at the end, but it's at the end because I use it to split that signal. The other thing too is I'm not going to use a stereo setup for the Whisky A Go-Go, and I'm not going to use my amps, which is a bit of a thing. I'm going to do it to make the setup much quicker and not have to bring this huge amplifier up there. And so I'm going to use their backline, which is a Black Star half stack 4x12 amp. So I tested them out at Guitar Center. They seem pretty good, and so I'm just going to, fingers crossed, and use what they have on stage. The house backline is what they would call that. So this is the second guitar I'm using. It's a sort of current model Ibanez 655M Prestige. There she blows. It's the Japanese model, so it has the maple neck, which I wanted. I've had a couple of gems before that had the maple neck. I mean, anyone who's played these, I mean, I'm sure people hate them, but I think they're just amazing. They're the right tool for the job. And so this one it's the Prestige 655M, so it's the most basic of the best ones kind of thing. So it's not a gem, it's nothing sort of signature or anything. It's basically the RG550, the kind of one of the first super strats that really got this thing going. So it's got all the good stuff on it. What it doesn't have is some fancy dancy wood. It's just painted. And so this one's purple. This is purple here too, believe it or not. And so anyway, if you are familiar with these guitars, it kind of makes sense for it to be a ridiculous color. And so this one has a Floyd Rose on it, which you can't leave on when it's in the case. This one has strap blocks, a different kind of strap block. This is, I believe, the Dunlop kind, maybe the Shaler kind, I'm not sure. But anyway, so I like those ones, they're sturdy, you know. And then the other thing too is I tuned down a semitone, and so on the Strat and on this one, I'm using the Ernie Ball, I'm trying to think of their names. And so because I tune a semitone down, the 10s kind of make sense. It's all down to your personal preference. But 9s are super bendy if you're down a semitone. And of course you have to balance out your tremolo system if you do that. These come from the factory set up for a set of 9 to 42s, which is your regular kind of standard set. So there's the RG resting away there. And then the back line here is this Black Star 4x12, which we're going to run our pedal board through, and using the delay in the effects loop in the back of this thing. Here's another little thing. I'm going to use a cable for this show because I'm using 3 different guitars, and it's not that big a show really. I'm not going to use a wireless system. And so to stop you from standing all over your wire and having it get in the way, one thing, you have to make sure you coil your wires well so they sit nice. But here, this is a lower scale version of what I'll do at the show. So we run that cable to the pile of coils. Now make the coil be behind you, assuming you're a right-handed player, slightly behind you and to your right. And then you run your cable out of that over to you, and that way the cable will stay away from your pedal board and not get in the way of that, and keep out of the way of your feet. And so that's the general gist there. But if you coil your cables nice and buy decent ones, this is a Megami cable, Planet Waves or Live Wire, all that kind of stuff, they're good. Monster, they'll sit nice and they'll do what you want them to do. When you're playing live, you need to have these strap blocks. They clip on and clip off, and they stop your guitar from falling onto the ground and dying a horrible death. They're like 20 or 30 bucks. Buy the good brands like Shaler or Dunlop or Planet Waves or some of the well-known brands, not the knockoffs that you can get on Amazon. Fast fret stuff, here it is. Actually, I used it since I was like a teenager back in England. I bought it for nostalgia because I like the smell, but what I've been using it for, it makes the string sort of slippy. I mean, that's kind of like the first thing you'd notice. But after I use it, after I use the guitars, because I'm going through 3 guitars here per set, you know, trying to just, I use it, the end result is it makes them consistent. When I pick up the guitar, even if the strings are, you know, a couple of weeks old, because I've just, you know, been doing rehearsals, you know, that they still feel like they're gonna feel on the night. And so it keeps them a little fresher longer, it does. I mean, even if you didn't use the stuff and you just rubbed it down with the rag and got all your, you know, dead skin and sweat and, you know, pieces of leftover hamburger off there, the strings would last better. So anyway, little plug for Fast Fret there. Smells really good. And it makes it slippy. It helps with string torque. If you're going to be recording, then yeah, you should use something like that, because it makes them less squeaky when you're trying to record. Another perhaps less glamorous thing is nail clippers. So you need to trim your nails. I like to leave a little bit of white on there. That feels comfortable. So they can be a little bit long, but if they get too long, you're not going to be able to play guitar as well as possible for some techniques, some chords and stuff and other things. It's going to be difficult to get the position you need. So use one of these guys. Try not to bite it, and that's it. You can see that if you're a right-handed player, I use my left hand on the fingerboard, and these nails will grow ever so slightly faster than your other nails from the blood flow from all the. So here we are. This is Sunset Boulevard, and right here wouldn't normally be that exciting, but the Hollywood Guitar Center is really quite exciting. It's huge and has all kinds of stuff, but outside as well they have all of these different handprint things, and I'm sure you guys can see there's Alice Cooper, James Brown, Lou Reed, we also have Blondie, Stephen Stills, Yngwie Malmsteen, Ozzy Osbourne, Dex, Jimmy Vaughan, George Clinton, Yardbirds, and there's the Wrecking Crew. You should look it up. They have a great documentary on Netflix. Oh, here's Van Halen. Here we go. Eddie Van Halen. So we are Sunset Boulevard, a little bit further west, and here it is, the Whisky A Go Go. And I've got 3 bands here tonight, the Commons, Ground Control, and there's Chupacabra, which is my band, playing the Whisky A Go Go. So the next guitar I'm using, the 3rd one here, is this California carved top. It's been adapted a little bit, and this is like a 1988 Seymour Duncan Distortion 6 that's been wound by this guy who I forget the name, but someone who worked at Seymour Duncan at that time, and it's better somehow. And so it's very ballsy. I'm going to go with that. And this is a Seymour Duncan trembucker of some sort. That's actually, I'm pretty sure it's supposed to be a bridge pickup on a guitar with a Floyd. But I had it laying around and threw it in here and ended up thinking it was fantastic, and so it stays. And this one's mounted, no, it used to be mounted directly to the wood, it's not anymore, never mind. And this has got this Eddie Van Halen low friction potentiometer behind it. I put it on last night and I love it. And so, but the barrel on it is bigger. I had a black one on here, a black knob, and it won't fit the Eddie Van Halen one. So luckily I had this guy sitting around and it's super heavy. I think it's off a telly maybe, and it feels really good. You know, it moves so quick and easy. So you can see for songs like Cathedral and such, why Eddie Van Halen uses that thing. And then this is actually a handmade buried skull made by some guy in New Zealand that I got for someone else's guitar. We had to buy a bunch to be able to get them, and there was one extra, so boom, it's on there. And so the other thing too is string wise, all three guitars got new strings 2 nights ago, so I don't mess around with that. The strings I'm using are the good Ernie Ball ones that I still can't remember the name of. I normally use the DR strings, and the DDTs were on here because this guitar is tuned down to C sharp standard. So imagine a regular guitar sort of works like a regular guitar, but it's all 3 frets lower than it would have been. And so I use this guy on War Pigs. Anyway, so I'm thinking those DRs feel a bit tighter at that, kind of enjoying them more, get more tuning stability, because when the strings start getting flappy, you can start pushing down on the frets and end up making them sharp and just all kinds of crazy stuff. So if you're going to down tune, you want to definitely go for something thicker and then experiment. So I mean, these things are $14 a pack, I think, because they're begins with P. Alright, so anyway, so the unbreakable Ernie Ball ones, but the DR ones, the DDTs, drop down tunings with the spider on the front. Those guys are pretty good. Anyway, the other thing, I'm using these Pick Boy picks. They're these 1mm sort of cheese looking things, and so I actually scratch them up using a penknife to make them a bit more friction feeling, so they don't. They can rotate when you get all sweaty. So this is what I'm talking about with these picks. So here they are. Here's a pile of the new ones, and they're awesome, you know, but they have a bit of a sheen to them there. And when you are playing, and I turn into a sweaty Sasquatch person, they get slippy. And so here is this one, which it looks ugly, and the uglier the better, really. So you see it's scored and scraped on both sides, and so that's a pile there of those that have been done. And I'm using this kitchen knife to do that. Basically, I just scrape the schnozzle out of it for a while, both sides, and then I cut into it, and that really makes a big difference for stopping it from spinning and just, you know, flying off into someone's eye. So there we go. The dimples on the Jazz 3 kind of do that, but these don't have dimples. I like these, they have the point on them, and so they have that, like the Jazz 3 kind of crispness, especially when you're soloing. But they're bigger, so the Jazz 3s just, they weird me out because they're so small. So any of those, boom. That's the siren for War Pigs. I don't know why it has Chatbot written on it, but anyway, it's the War Pigs sirens. I have it on a ye olde CD, And I also have it on a USB drive, so hopefully one of those will work for the people at Whisky A Go Go. Here's the envelope we got from the Whisky A Go Go with our tickets in it. It has our contract that we signed. So basically it's $250. You have to pay $125 up front. You have to sign your life away there. And it's 2 hours drive from where we are here in San Diego. And so I booked a hotel, $122.81 to stay at the Dixie Hollywood for one night, which hopefully has not too many cockroaches. Anyway, so that's it. Change your strings before every show. I mean, it seems crazy maybe. If you're playing it like a few shows a week, then yeah, you got to figure out how much you can get away with before tuning stability and the risk of breakage becomes a thing. But for a show at the Whisky, new strings all around, plus a full setup with intonation, neck adjustment, and action, just to try to make them as good as possible. So in a more practical sense, I have been practicing, obviously. We're doing a 30-minute show, 7 songs or so, a couple of little medleys there. And I've been practicing 2 hours a day, normally 9:30 in the morning till 11:30 in the morning. And then we've had, for this particular show, 3 2-hour rehearsals. And we've added a couple of new songs in that time. Anyway, so fingers are doing pretty good. I mean, that's kind of how they normally look. It's not normally much better than that. But I did get a cut here. So it's like that Dire Straits song. I got a blister on my little finger, kind of. Anyway, so it took some skin off down here and then had a cut that was bleeding right there. And so that's like a bit of a nightmare, really, when you're a couple of days before a show. So I've been using this stuff. It helps because obviously you still have to practice leading up to the show. You can't just like stop. And so I've been putting that on, and it lasts for a bit. It'll start to flake off like some sort of weird clear scab kind of thing. But it will make it that you can get through your set with maybe a couple of reapplications and still, you know, practice. The other thing is I've had it before. I still have a scar, I think, on this finger somewhere. From slicing it open. I've done that more than once from doing like a glissando on a high E string. And it's normally, last time was the day before a show, and I had a gash through here. And so that I used super glue on, which sounds ghastly, but that actually was its intended purpose when it was designed, so I'm told. And it works really good. You just have to, you know, grit and bear it there, make sure it's clean, open up the cut, and then dribble in the quality super glue, like Loctite brand, not something you get at Harbor Freight. Dribble that in there and then hold the flesh shut, and it will work. You can get through the show. Feels weird, still hurts, but it works. So here we are backstage. We're on in 15 minutes. Got my tuner, and we're tuning the RG right now. So basically you pile your gear in a corner on that. There's a balcony that goes down to the stage here, and that's where everyone puts their stuff. And so I'm grabbing one guitar at a time, tuning them, trying to get them used to the temperature in here. It's kind of a cold day, really. It's weird. And that's it. And then we're going on. It turns out that the amp that they have here is it was good when it was new, but it's not in very good shape. Something's going on. It's like distorted when it's clean, and sounds like a ripped cone, or who knows, something not good. So I'm using the Bugera I brought just in case. So here we go.
Joker from telly. Not really. And this is Eddie from South America somewhere. Chupacabra. One moment. Play something, boys.
Really resist. I'm parked down there opposite the Hustler store, which is a block from the Whisky A Go Go. There's that Ferrari 456 we were looking at. But right here, I couldn't resist it. Look, somebody actually owns this. This is a pearl white. Oh my God, with a disabled sticker, whatever that means.
Thank you, Hollywood! Chupacabra! Thank you.
So here we are back at the hotel, the Dixie Hollywood, which is good, actually. It's kind of like an old motel, but like, you know, the cockroaches were refurbished somehow. It's nice. It's got a pool. Quite cheap, really. Put on some house lights here. How the hell do you do that? I don't even know. There we go. All right, so that's it, full circle. It's 1 in the morning now, 1:06. It took 40 minutes for the videos that we bought from the Whisky A Go Go people to be rendered. You know, if anyone has worked on videos, you know what I'm talking about there. It takes a while for it to get put onto the hard drive. This is the hard drive I brought. So that's it. Everyone's really nice. There is this kind of vibe to Los Angeles, if you've ever been here, which is kind of like a you vibe, basically, if you're an out-of-towner. But you know, underneath all that, there is some people who are dealing with the vibe that are just like you. And so if you treat people with a bit of respect, people were amazing to us tonight. We had a great time. So that's it. Play the whiskey. It's kind of fun. See you soon.